And let us welcome Mrs. Candida Chandorkar, Director Education and CSR Chairperson, Tata Technologies, North America. Welcome, ma'am, for this particular webinar, and we thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sridhara. Thank you.
And let me just introduce the speaker today, Mrs. Candida Chandorkar. She obtained her graduate degree in Commerce and Economics from Mumbai University, India. And she obtained her MBA in Human Resource and Marketing from NMIMS University, Mumbai, India. And later she actually obtained her executive education in strategy and sales from Harvard Business School, Massachusetts, USA. She has extensive global experience of 25 plus years with a proven track record across industries like technology, automobiles, airlines, telecom, insurance, healthcare, CPG and retail, media and advertising, education and training. Mrs. Candida is a strategic, innovative and customer-focused leader with deep understanding of emerging technologies in VR, AR, MR, AI, machine learning, and their application to transformative customer and employee experiences. She has delivered high performance in strategy and education across marketing, sales, and human resources as business unit leader and HR and learning leader. And she excelled in customer engagement and business relationship management across global markets of Fortune 100 organizations across including APAC, North America, and Europe, effectively engaging multiple cross-functional and cross-level stakeholders. Besides being responsible for engineering education and new technologies in North America, she also holds the additional responsibility as CSR Chairperson North America. She has won 2 Tata 2019 CSR Sustainability Awards for Tata Technologies North America. In a personal capacity, she is actively contributing and supporting social innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives focused on children in orphanages, girl child education and environment. With all this, Amity University in this particular year in 1920, January, has conferred the title Honorary Professor to Mrs. Candida Chandorkar in honor to her achievements. Ms. Candida Chandorkar was a guest speaker on Australia and New Zealand Business Insights at Opus College of Business University at St. Thomas, Minneapolis, MN, USA. With this small introduction, I request Mrs. Candida Chandorkar to deliver this particular session. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Most welcome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sridhara. That was, I wouldn't call it a small introduction, but thank you anyway. And I would actually like to maybe just jump straight into the session, because I do understand that we have a diverse audience profile, and it's also late in the day for you. So I'm trying to sort of wrap this up in about 45 minutes, leaving about 15 minutes for question and answers. Sounds okay?
Yeah, please.
All right. So I think this question keeps coming quite frequently from different colleges at this point in time. What exactly should be our skills for success in general, and specifically now, when you're looking at COVID situation and post-COVID, what typically might be beneficial to learn and hone and develop so that we can have the right skills for career success. So that's really what I'm trying to answer, because it has been a question from different students and people at large. And let's see, I'm trying to give you different perspectives. Let's see if any of these resonate with you, and I'd be happy to answer questions towards the end. So what I hope to do today is just go over these key themes. One is, what have we seen as the impact of COVID? More like an overview as opposed to a detailed, lengthy discussion on it. I also want to sort of take a little bit of a deep dive into one industry segment so that you understand when trying to understand what skills are necessary or relevant, you are not looking at it in general. You're not looking at it saying, hey, everybody else is doing it, I might as well do something in machine learning. You've got to see how that is relevant to you as well, and how that's relevant to an industry. So maybe a little bit of a deep dive into one industry might help provide that perspective. I will very, very briefly touch upon Industry 4.0, Marketing 4.0, and Education 4.0. All of these are topics I would imagine that you're already familiar with. And so just touch upon them. Specifically, engineering students, you know, in Industry 4.0, I don't need to explain that, I would imagine. And I'm also then going to walk you through something which I believe this is not a term popularly used, but it is my understanding that the confluence of what Industry 4.0, Marketing 4.0, and Education 4.0 arrive at is really a unique signature that is something we need to understand at a personal level. I also then dive into the skills that I believe we need to be looking at closely during this time and for the near future. I also want to touch upon you as a person, as opposed to just developing skills because everybody else is developing skills. And then we conclude.
Candida, a small request. Can you speak a little louder?
Sure, sure. So that's largely the direction I would like to take for today's session of 45 minutes. I will quickly go into the impact. And I think the impact here is really for us to look at three different levels. When you're looking at the COVID impact, quite often we are looking at this in terms of our immediate world and how it has been impacted. For instance, any sessions that were typically happening, one of the Amity sessions I recently did would have typically been a session I did in the New York campus, but we did it virtually. So you're looking at education itself has shifted online. So all your new realities, the middle block is really your interactions have changed, your work style has changed. A lot of companies, the business models have changed, how they're now going to be doing business is going a lot more digital as opposed to how it used to be. There is a significant focus on environment across different companies. You're looking at sustainability a lot closely. Dr. Sridhara, is this volume okay? Do I need to speak louder? Dr. Sridhara?
Little louder, please.
Still louder? Okay, okay. So when we look at the impact of COVID, we're looking at, the way I've split the screen is we're looking at what are the industries that were impacted. This is again an indicative list. This is not an exhaustive list. It is just to give you an indication right now. So if you look at the leftmost column, you're looking at the industries impacted, and the rightmost column, you're looking at the industries benefited. If I had to relate this to the automotive industry in particular, focus on the ones that are in green. Within the automotive industry, you're looking at travel and tourism, automobile manufacturing as those industries which are far more impacted from what I have shown here. You're also looking at the industries benefited where in the rightmost column, you're looking at digital products, alternate energy, and data sciences as examples of what's far more impacted. So this is sort of giving you a flavor of the direction where we are headed in terms of changes to industry and changes in how we are actually getting operational at this point. Dr. Sridhara, is this better?
Good enough, ma'am. Good. You can just continue. Good enough.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So while we see this change that has happened in how we transact and the nature of industries that are getting impacted, I want to actually allow you to have a glimpse into what we're seeing as the future of automotive. This is a little bit of a deep dive into automotive, and within automotive, a little further deep dive into the passenger car segment. This is for a better understanding of how we need to approach from a skills perspective, what needs enhancement as opposed to looking at it in a general fashion. I'm going to try and open this particular app here. Hopefully the screen will open. So when you look at the automotive industry, there has been significant change in that industry across the world. Specifically, an example that comes to mind is Porsche has created its own augmented reality app, which allows you to build your own dream car and then see it in your driveway. And this is the extent to which they have taken the experience for a customer so that they can actually effect a sale. The moment you are looking at a car, visualizing a car without actually going to the dealer showroom and experiencing it to the extent you are able to make a decision on which car you want or how you want your car to be, that is what this app particularly does. I will try and see if this link works here. Give me a moment. So you can actually see what's happening. Is this okay, Dr. Sridhara?
Yeah, it's good enough.
So here you're seeing two individuals interact with each other, trying to identify a car. You see this lady here who is sending it to her friend, some details, and you see what happens next. He receives it, he receives a text, and he starts using the AR app. And that's a general car park where he's actually looking at the app and manipulating the vehicle. There is no vehicle there, but that's what he's doing. He's arriving at what might be a better car. And all of this is happening through the AR Visualizer app. And today, this is the direction where we see other companies also headed in similar industry in terms of finding a way to reach your customer, finding a way to be able to sell a product without actually having them in your showroom with the product and making decisions and actually possibly making purchases. So that sort of gives you a very quick, let me go back to my presentation. Similarly, you will see that the same AR app, you are able to go even further and understand the mechanics of the car from the inside. You can actually minimize your vehicle on a coffee table and view the product on the coffee table. Let me quickly see if this is a link that you can have a look at. Using the same app.
The animations are not playing, ma'am.
Okay, so maybe I can send this link for circulation later. But yeah, what's happening here is I'll come out of this one then, if it's not playing. Give me one second. Yeah. All right. So we'll come out of the animations. But what I essentially wanted to say is that within the automotive world, it's not about manufacturing a product which is a little more higher and using Industry 4.0, etc. It's also how you sell that has undergone change. How you interact and make the product available to the customer has also undergone significant change. With the example of Porsche's app, you can see that happen. Within the automotive industry, you're actually seeing so much change across different companies, the OEMs that are offering their product. And you also see that there's a tremendous shift from regular OEMs going ICE to ACEs, which basically means the internal combustion engine is no more the car that you would want to typically go for. You're really looking at cars that would have elements of autonomous connectivity, shared mobility, electrification. You're looking at all of these dimensions coming into play. So all OEMs are actually actively addressing the shift from being a typical traditional car manufacturer to that which can offer the market with electrified cars or vehicles that basically leverage the future technologies. And in saying that, you're also looking at a market where you have changes that are happening, where you have suppliers coming. So you have three different segments being created, not just the OEM, but you're looking at suppliers producing components. You're looking at mobility service providers who are actually providing you with software related elements and so on. So there's the change in the market is rapid and is significant, and it's all leveraging new technology. You also see that the adoption in different countries, regions, etc., seem to vary. Now, depending on whether, and I want to make a differentiation here. Plug-in electric vehicles, for example, they're typically, you may consider all of them as one category, but they do have a distinct difference. You're looking at plug-in electric vehicles, which are generally divided into the electric or all battery electric vehicles that run only on batteries, and those that are hybrids, plug-in hybrids. And again, the trend within that is going more towards the hybrids. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that the adoption of electric vehicles typically is completely dependent on, it is dependent on what each country is doing about it in terms of its subsidies, in terms of its environmental sensitivity, incentives, etc., etc. And the demand also, therefore, to that extent, is largely dependent on those factors as well. So if you look at a really quick view on how electric vehicles have been adopted globally, you will find that, you look at all the countries that are marked green, and you will see that the EV adoption in these countries is higher. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is your skills. When you're looking at your skills, I'll keep coming back to skills, is that you got to look at which country you are in, what kind of adoption levels the country has for the industry segment that you're trying to target. Understand the region, understand the industry, understand the company that you're going for, and then try to see what skills you need to hone. And there's no point in trying to do a very general, broad brush way of approach in terms of honing your skills. And therefore, understanding what's happening in different segments becomes necessary. So here's a quick view at the adoption. I also want to sort of give you a quick trend. Therefore, this is again an example of showcasing to you that when you're diving into a particular industry and understanding it, it's important to understand how it's doing. So marking out the trends, is it sort of showing you a growth track, whether it's plugins that are going higher, whether it is the battery ones that are going higher, which countries are seeing higher adoption, etc. This is more to depict to you what kind of trends are visible in the market specific to the industry. I also wanted to point out that because, and something I'd mentioned previously, that when you look at OEMs adopting this change across, regardless of what they were doing as traditional car manufacturers, you find that just about every company that you sort of know is going the electric vehicle direction. For example, BMW is planning 25 launches in 2025. Now that might have changed because of COVID, but at least directionally, they were looking at that much of growth. Tesla, for example, is going to be bringing out, it's got 4 models right now. All of them, 100%, are focused on eco-friendly models. So you're looking at all these things that are happening in the market. I also want to point out to you, EV market, look at this third bullet point. Your plug-in volumes have quadrupled since 2014, and roughly half the world's car sales are going to be plug-ins by 2027. If you also look at public charging stations, the charging stations for vehicles has also doubled within 2 years, and so on. So battery costs have come down. There's a lot of study that's happening on how do you make fuel efficient batteries and so on. So this entire industry has taken a big shift from what it used to be, and it's doing it very rapidly. This is just sort of to give you an overview. Similarly, you're looking at, while you're seeing adoption growth, you're looking at sales growth also happening of the vehicles, where the sales are growing at least at 50% year on year. You're looking at significant growth there. You're also looking at different companies having different makes and models, and you're looking at about 350,000 units being sold in US alone in 2018. So you're looking at this entire growth trend that's happening, and it is likely to continue with or without COVID. But what this brings me to, therefore, is that with respect to COVID, what therefore are we talking of in this industry? We're saying that overall impact on the sales in the short term right now because of COVID, it's such an unpredictable situation, but it's going to grow. It's definitely on a growth path, but we don't know how much. We're not able to put a number to it at this point in time because of the volatility of the situation. But in the long term, we know that it is going to have a positive impact because people are not going to limit their choices based on, hey, it's a new product, I want to have it, because they're going to be associating themselves a lot more to what that product stands for. And if they are more keen on being associated with something which is environmental friendly, which as individuals, all of us are almost thinking, what am I doing for the environment? Am I being somebody who is enabling and contributing to the health of the environment or not? And when people start becoming conscious, it's a personal choice they're making based on where they stand at a personal level. And those shifts are likely to happen. So we see a sustainable approach from at an individual level as well as at the company level that is likely to happen no matter which industry. Now, again, it is not limited to the automotive industry. That trend of sustainability will continue, will be in fact enhanced going forward. And that also impacts the kind of skills that people need to nurture and hone. Now, that's a deep dive into the automotive industry. Again, a quick breeze through so that you got a flavor, a glimpse of how one needs to look at the industry and the skills that might be necessary there. I want to quickly also mention Industry 4.0 because while we're looking at COVID-related changes, while we're looking at what needs to change in terms of where we're honing our skills, should we do machine learning? Should we do artificial intelligence? Should we just focus our skills on data sciences? What should we be doing? It's important to understand how manufacturing is also happening today, where are companies laying more emphasis? What we've gathered so far is we're looking at all new technologies coming to the forefront even faster. And all of this is accelerated in terms of what can be transacted virtually, what can be done online with minimized physical or in-person contact is the direction things are going. That's the direction we're seeing. Whether you're doing it, COVID, I would say COVID has just accelerated the pace at which that change is happening. The focus on sustainability has gone up and the focus on digital or technology-oriented work has gone up. Those would be the two areas to sort of see what syncs up with the direction you are headed. I want to just breeze through Industry 4.0 and sort of give you a little flavor here. We are familiar with the four stages or the four revolutions that have happened. I don't want to spend time on all of them, but just to suffice that today, almost all industries are largely operating in the third revolution phase, where they're basically trying their best with the robotics and automated production and so on. But a significant amount of industries have already made the shift to the fourth revolution, which is basically they're looking at cyber-physical systems here and autonomous decision-making that's happening, where the individual is really not actively physically with the machine, or neither is he robotically managing it. It's actually leveraged through cloud technology. So it's a very easy visual depiction here of when you're saying Industry 3.0 versus Industry 4.0. You have a look at what is happening here. It's person managed and it's robotic here. And here you're looking at all of this is perhaps managed on an app or perhaps managed on some sort of technology where you're actually able to manage your assets, your inventory, your production, your input, your output. Everything that's happening is managed quite differently through cyber-physical systems. I think this is again very familiar terrain for those of you who are in engineering, but really Industry 4.0, which is our present and our future for some time to come. It hinges on the 9 technologies or 9 pillars here. And I think any skills that you hone in this direction would be beneficial to you. So when you're looking at skills, focus on what is relevant for now, given that you're looking at Industry 4.0 and what will be relevant going down the track. So say additive manufacturing, that's 3D printing, augmented reality, big data analytics, all of these elements that you can see in the Internet of Things, etc., are what you should know. Even if you're not deep diving into it, you should be familiar with what that talks about, what that represents, and what change that can bring. Being aware of it is useful. If that is your profession, or that's the direction you want to pursue, then deep dive into those areas. And the reason I say that is because if you look at this, it's a small little depiction, but look at it from the perspective of just about every vehicle is connected on a digital thread. Imagine a situation where all you need to have as information is a digital thread relevant to the production process, relevant to a particular vehicle. And so understanding this digital transformation and what that means within your profession and being on the top of it becomes critical. These are just examples, like say specific, and because I gave you the auto industry example, I want to sort of just quickly touch upon when you look at the auto industry specifically and the relevance of Industry 4.0 to the auto industry, you're looking at the entire engineering, the design, the manufacturing, the supply chain, all of it undergoing change because of the changes that Industry 4.0 brings. You're also looking at how customer servicing is done is going to change. How selling is going to happen is also going to change. So being familiar with the technology that is relevant for now and for future is definitely the direction I would strongly suggest you hone skills in. Because today the workforce of the past is also not too familiar with it. You are the new generation who are going to bring your skills and your talent to the industry. And we see significant gap between what the industry expects and what employees the industry has. And that gap that exists is where your talent will be relevant to fit and enable growth of the organization. So I would say find within the industry what you see as the challenges, hone your skills within that, because I know for a fact that within the auto industry, the aging workforce and the skill gaps being wide is a very sweet spot for talent to be absorbed. I will just skip through this slide. It just talks of the solutions, therefore, and where to focus, smart manufacturing, for example, and so on. So, but this is something which is a far more detailed slide. I also want to mention that when I talked of countries having a different level of adoption, you look at, say, for example, in Germany, the level of adoption in Germany has been at a very different level, specifically say with the car manufacturers and suppliers. The highest expenditure that they have it's pretty much at €1 billion, and the second highest expenditure on Industry 4.0. They actually have put in so much effort on Industry 4.0, having created something called Arena 2036, which they launched. And this was launched by the University of Stuttgart and the German Federal Ministry of Education. It's basically a 10,000 square meter on the university campus. And this area is where they're doing all of the fascinating automotive and perhaps other areas, aerospace, etc., related research. Research and development when it comes to Industry 4.0. So there's significant focus by the government as well as the universities on taking Industry 4.0 forward and applying it to the automotive industry specifically. In fact, one of the spokespersons, and I just want to draw your attention to the last line here, one of the spokespersons of Arena 2036 in Germany has actually said, in the factory of the future, each product will go its own way and will approach only those production stations that suit its individual configuration. You can see the level of freedom that exists in the manufacturing process in that one line, where products have the choice to go where they want and approach those production stations that suit their individual configuration. That's how directionally production is headed. So it sort of gives you a flavor of, therefore, what do you need to do in terms of skills enhancement? I also want to draw your attention very quickly to Marketing 4.0. It's not just production that has changed. It's not just manufacturing that has changed. You see this change happening even in marketing, because marketing's gone digital even more. At the same time, I want to draw your attention to it not just being digital. There's an interesting element to Marketing 4.0. And the reason I bring it is that marketing initially was product driven. It became customer centric. It then became human centric. But in Marketing 4.0, which is where it is today, have a look at that absolute last bullet point. it's about balancing machine to machine. Now, everything is like when you want to know a product, you want to understand a product, you're basically looking at, say, the Porsche app, and that's machine to machine. You're looking at it, you're interacting with it, you're sort of making your decisions. People are, the sellers are communicating to you digitally, you're looking at information on websites, etc. But what is happening now is if you just leave it for that to be machine to machine, as an M to M, you are not leveraging the power of technology and the power of human to human interaction to take you to a stage where you can actually transact a sale and engage your customer. So the machine to machine and human to human interaction is basically where Marketing 4.0 stands, which is where marketing is today, where you're building the digital connectivity as well as the human connectivity to enable customer engagement. And that's the shift that has happened. So the reason I'm mentioning this is when you're looking at a customer, you're looking at the customer actually today, going on the website, looking up that app, configuring the car, ordering the car. All of this is captured as a digital vehicle record on a digital thread. And you're, even from a production perspective, ordering perspective, stocking perspective, all of it is managed pretty much like that. Specifically with Tesla is where I want to bring you an example here. Now, what changes when you're looking at marketing, and how is Tesla doing its marketing? This is a shining example of how Marketing 4.0 has come into action. Now, when you look at a company like Tesla, and when you look at what happens when you go to buy any car, what's the difference? I think if you look at the slide and you say, hey, I actually didn't realize it. It's almost like Tesla doesn't have dealerships. There is no dealership showroom. So basically there are no salespersons, there is no bargaining, list price is final. You order and configure your car. You don't even see your actual car, and you wait for a few weeks before you get hold of your Tesla. And all of this builds to a sense of exclusivity that you want to really have this car because it's exclusive, it's so unique. Everything about it is unique. And it makes you feel special to have that Tesla. So now once you get your Tesla, what they do is they leverage the person who's bought Tesla to be doing the talking, to be sharing, to be sort of getting more customers. So this entire strategy is where they have created a very personalized special experience for the buyer. And that experience is what allows for more sales to happen by word of mouth. And their own experience is what they promote to the other customers, the other potential customers. So you're looking at machine to machine and people to people, human to human in action here. And essentially what they have is something like a Tesla app where you have a referral that you can do to your any of the people you know. The moment you have referred, they get some benefits, you get some benefits. So this entire mechanism, and you are the best spokesperson of the product that you have purchased. So all of that is leveraged through their referral program. And this is how Marketing 4.0 is in action with Tesla. And that's, again, something interesting to note in how the world is doing business today. At the same time, I want to draw your attention to Education 4.0. And what's the shift in Education 4.0? I don't want to spend time here. To a large extent, it is what you do today. How are you learning today? That's really what it's talking about. Education 4.0 is where things have changed. You're learning anywhere, anytime. So anything you want to know about, you're not waiting for me to tell you more about it. Perhaps when I've talked about the Porsche app, some of you might have actually downloaded the app or looked at the app already while I'm talking. It's possible. You're also not necessarily listening to your faculty and your teachers the entire time. You found your own mentors. There's somebody out there who's guiding you, helping you. So your entire learning process has changed. You are not limiting your learning to the monologue that happens or whatever happens in a school or a university, but you have found your own ways to learn, and you own that learning, and you own it because, and you personalize your learning. So that has been the shift from an Education 4.0 perspective. Now that brings me to what does this mean therefore for us as individuals and for us as consumers. And therefore, what should we keep in mind when honing our skills with this reality? So when you look at the integrated perspective, you're looking at Marketing 4.0, Industry 4.0, Education 4.0, you're really looking at the MIE 4.0, for want of a better way of saying it, it's Me 4.0. You're looking at it as in an integrated fashion. Now, picture yourself here at MIE 4.0. When you picture yourself here, what are you influenced by? You are influenced by the circles around you. And the circles around you quite immediately are you're influenced by the outer environment, the environment circle, where you're seeing innovation happen. You yourself are innovating in terms of what you're trying to find as solutions, given the constraints that you're in, whether they're COVID constraints or other constraints. You're innovating for change. You're innovating to bring something new, to create something by way of a project. You're also doing things, whether I am stating it or not, I think everybody has become a lot more sustainability conscious. So you're doing that, you're innovating with sustainability goals. So that's sort of playing in your mindset. Mind you, each of us are at a different level or a different level of understanding, different level of execution of what this means, but it exists. You're also connected to one another on an ongoing basis, whether it is a WhatsApp connectivity you're talking of, or whether this connectivity with each other is at a different level. You're looking at constantly being data connected, data driven. And largely, in fact, research says that a large percentage of population is now, the younger population is also tending to be entrepreneurial in nature, which means people are not shy to start their own individual gigs or businesses or whatever. So there is that composition of an entrepreneurial drive as well. Now, sitting within that environment, you are already familiar with what Industry 4.0 is changing or bringing about. You're familiar with what Education 4.0 is bringing about. And you're familiar with what Marketing 4.0 means. And what I'm saying at this point is who you are, what you do, and how you define your actions. What you expect for yourself is generally going to be an experience that basically will be impacted by all of these factors that you are experiencing at an individual level. And you create your own unique signature of what you expect. So when you're looking at what you expect from the outside world, what you expect and how you want to contribute, that entire thing makes your mental framework or your mental makeup and allows you to move forward. So you are looking at a combination of all of this.